Hello and welcome back to ArtSphere. I'm Joey McQuillan, and this week we'll be discussing something a little bit different from what we've been reviewing for saxophone instructions. We'll discuss about the history of the saxophone and the interesting creator of the saxophone and many other iterations of what he's designed, from large saxophones to the original alto, Adolphe Sax. Adolphe Sax was born in 1814's Belgium, Europe. In Brussels, Belgium, a child of 11 siblings and a father and mother that were craftsmen turned instrument makers. He loved playing and making specific musical instruments, specifically the flute and clarinet in his childhood, but that wouldn't go without any negatives. Since Adolphe was such a major accident-prone child who has survived drowning in a river, with the neighbors seeing him face down in a river and rushing to his aid, falling from 3 flights of stairs as a baby, accidentally consumed a bowl of poisonous liquid thinking it was milk, had accidentally fell into a burnt stove, scarring most of his body. He was caught in an accidental gunpowder explosion, with the blast being right next to him, which scarred his body even more because of him working with his father. He swallowed a nail during infancy and had no real noticeable injuries. And while he was working at an adolescent age, a piece of a roof hit his head and he was in a coma that lasted supposedly for a week, or until he was bedridden, with his mother thinking that her son wouldn't live at all, and the neighbors nicknaming Adolphe Little Sax the Ghost for the amounts of near-death experiences that Adolphe has had in his childhood. But that didn't stop him from loving and making and playing instruments, in which he studied flute and clarinet more at the Brussels Conservatory in the Royal Music School in Brussels at 1828, learning more about the instruments themselves on a musical and physical level, while also studying different instruments so he can either improve or create different sounding instruments with the imagination he has in creating instruments and improving on said instruments. So, his childhood was a huge trial and tribulation. And when he became an adult after finishing learning all he could at the Royal Music School in Brussels, by his adept way of creating and improving previously made instruments, he wanted to show off his created and improved instruments at the Belgian expedition in 1840, with 9 new invented instruments, including an improved organ. Adolphe was rejected first place in it because the judges say he would have nothing to strive for in the coming year as a prodigy. Then the next year, in 1841, Adolphe had an idea to create something akin to the bass clarinet and made the saxophone. When the saxophone was going to be shown in the competition, someone damaged the saxophone by kicking it, so the saxophone didn't debut. Even without the new instrument, Adolphe's other created instruments made him highly recommended to be first place, but was still rejected by the same judges. So, he didn't accept his silver medal and said, "If they think me too young to deserve the gold medal, I myself think me too old to accept this vermeil or silver medal." Absolutely furious over the fact he has been rejected so many times, at the age of 27, which was 1/3 of someone's life in the 1800s, he headed to Paris, France, to display his creations and gather the funds and patents to create the new instruments, while also having them be popularized by famous European artists inside Paris, France, where music was at the time Paris was home to, a plethora of people that were prodigies of the musical arts, and where both classical and marching music reigned supreme during at that time, and Adolphe thought that his many inventions can get him past the ridicule and absurd critique of his inventions in Brussels. But the critique will be one of the many things the saxophone and its creator will be known for, as an instrument too vulgar to be classical for its time, and wasn't enough in people's eyes for musical marching. Next week, we'll be discussing on how Adolphe Sax preserves or fails inside Paris, and what will be the future for the history of saxophones, and what other major hurdles Adolphe has to overcome now that he's in a new country with his own friends and enemies. Thank you so much for listening to this first part. I'll see you next week when we dive deeper into Adolphe's life and death. See you next time, and thanks for watching.